Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Spotlight with That Be. This is episode 4, and I am your host, That Be, and I am very pleased to have with me today one of my friends, a for me, one of my favorite current MCs, and that is Amir, aka Peace Beloved. Um, what up, Amir? How you doing today?
What's going on?
Not much. I'm
What's the
super
latest?
excited to have you on here for this conversation. So
Let's get it.
I um I have some questions lined up for you. I know we had a conversation the other day and I really can't wait to share with all of my followers a little bit about you, your music, and your thoughts on different topics.
Right.
So we ready?
I
You
appreciate
good?
it.
We ready?
Yeah, I got my water. I'm ready.
Oh, wait, I got my water too. So one of the things that I mention often when I'm on my lives to people is for me, you're one of the artists out there right now that your pen game, as far as I'm concerned, is insane. I'm always telling you this. I'm always encouraging you in regards to the music you're putting out, to continue to put out the type of content that you seem to be including in your music. So one of the things that we discussed is, I'm just going to get right to it, is I've noticed, at least I believe, that your music is very unique. I know I mentioned this to you and initially you were like, so let me finish my thought. I feel that you have very unique content. I feel your pen game is unique. I feel that your entire brand, to be honest with you, is different than everything else that I'm seeing out there. And one of the things I noticed as we were having our conversation is I wasn't too sure that you were in agreement as far as you being a unique artist out there right now with what you're putting out. So I wanted to have you on here and have you give me your opinion of, don't you feel you are unique in the content you're putting out and your entire brand?
Well, thank you, first
You're
and
welcome.
foremost. I don't know. I don't know if I would roll myself under the prison of one word, right? First,
Yeah.
like, but it's no stab at what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I try to stay as close to whatever energy is present in the room at the time when I create.
Hmm.
I pray to stay very intimate with that. And my real approach to a lot of the records is I try to write when I write or I approach a song, I try to approach it like as if God is in the front row, right? Would I be okay saying what I'm saying? How real am I really keeping it? Could I perform this if the creator of everything was in front of me? Uh, would I be able to say this? So if that breeds, for you, if it inspires what you would call unique, then at least I aspire some feeling. At the end of the day, uh, you know, my intention is just pretty much to leave people with a feeling, and whatever that feelings are gonna meet them wherever they at in their life. So if you're saying it's unique, then God bless, I did my job. But really, just my intention is to be present and to be used for whatever the moment is calling for, or whatever the assignment that I was tasked with upon creation. So I don't really get caught up in too many
Labels.
of that, because being unique could kind of imprison you, but it can also free you as well. So at the same point in time, like I said, I just try to stay present.
So it's funny that you mention, um, as far as you're trying to get a feeling out of your listeners, Because one of the other questions I had for you was listening to your music, it feels as if your intent is deliberate on evoking emotions in the listener. At least I know it does for me. And it could be, whether, all different topics. So is your ultimate goal what satisfies you? Is it to evoke emotions from the listener?
Um, I think
Like,
I'll
or a
say this,
song?
man. I'll say this to you. Today in this moment, my answer would be kind of like, um, yes, but to expand on it, I would say to you, people, and I've said this a lot of the shows that I've done, like people don't always remember what you say,
Hmm.
uh, but they always remember how you made them feel. So
Yeah,
as long as I can leave them with a feeling, and that feeling is a feeling that would encourage them to connect with me and see what else I may have to say, then I did my job.
I definitely think you're succeeding in that goal. um, I know for me at least, a lot of the music that you're putting out,
I
I'd
mean,
say I'd say at the least it evokes emotion. It definitely makes me put thought into whatever story it is that you are telling. And I do feel like often what you're doing is you're telling a story, from different perspectives, different people's perspectives.
mhm,
Um, so knowing you a little bit and having conversation with you, one of the things that I've noticed is how deep you actually are. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on Spotlight, because I don't just want to spotlight the amazing creative that you are, and we'll get into a few things that I see that you do. um, I want to spotlight the amazing human being that you are, and that's part of the reason why I do Spotlight. um,
thank you.
you're welcome. So I wanted to, I'm going to throw in now the topic, because since I'm mentioning that, I do feel, and I told you this the other day, that you're multifaceted. You seem like you're into so many different things, from fashion, your own merch, and even the way that you dress, because I be peeping you, yo, the way you be dressing, I be like, yo, yes. um, so I know you're into fashion and you definitely care about what you're representing as far as your brand when you're out in these streets.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I think part of that is what makes you so unique, at least to me, because I don't see a lot of guys out here, putting too much thought into their gear or what they're wearing. But I notice you
mhm,
also, in your merch and the things that you put out, you put a lot of thought into that as well. Do you feel that
yeah.
that is part of showing people like who Amir is?
I think it's an extension
Yeah.
of to detail, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I guess that would kind of fall into the term that you said earlier, unique, right? If I was to tie it back to that, I think there's a power in standing. I wouldn't pay if I'm paying $1,000 to a fashion house, but I know where they got their blinks at, and I'm
Yeah.
really just paying for the name. It's the same thing applicable when people buy frames to glasses. The same four companies make frames, but when people slap their name, they think they bought the idea of luxury, right? If Peace
Yeah.
Beloved was as let's say popular as Louis Vuitton, would it be revered the same way, like with the mystique or with the allure of having it on, because you know what that brand represents, like whether it's mid-level luxury, high-level luxury clothing, or etc. I feel like there's power in making a sample and seeing if people vibe with a sample, and then you kind of go into maybe a small level of production with it, or see if you can or just for yourself. Sometimes it's just as you just know that that's a unique piece that you have for yourself. Nobody else on the planet has
Yeah.
that piece that you created that from scratch from for yourself. So I feel like I like that feeling better than, getting like factory luxury where I have the same thing, you have the same thing, we paid the same price, but what did we really buy into? So
Yeah.
to answer your question, yeah, as far as uh, clothing or fashion is concerned, yeah.
Because I
Hmm.
noticed, even with the pictures you take that I see that you post, with your album covers, with what I see that you're wearing when you're out, when you're doing shows, it's something where I'm going to be honest with you. I don't necessarily pay that much attention when it's other artists or creatives. It's few artists or creatives and that stand out to me as far as their gear or their drip. And I'm
Hmm.
gonna be honest, it's never because it's something that is costly or it's one of these big names that it's what's
That's how it's put
standing
together.
out to me. What's standing
Yeah,
out to me is, do you look fly?
right.
And I always notice, from coordinating your colors in a particular way to the materials that you're putting together, to me that's what stands
Hmm.
out. So this is
Right.
why I mentioned it to you. And I know initially when I mentioned it to you, you were kind of like, oh, I mean, it's just me being me. But I don't
Yeah.
know, again, if you realize how unique that is. Like when you go out, you don't look at other dudes and you're like, let me hook you up
Now,
and give
I
you
don't
my
look at
homie's
dudes, but
number.
I don't look at dudes, but I will say if somebody has on something that's fire,
Yeah.
I'll definitely be like, yo, that's a nice piece right there. I don't even
Yeah.
ask them where they got it at because sometimes I could see it, and if I could tell if it's a 101, I could tell if it's a boutique brand. And usually you can Google it anyway, but if I see the name of it, I'll Google it. But I could tell, so I think the energy of compliment, like when you give a compliment, people, you receive them in return. So I have no problem telling one of my bros that they got on something fire that I think that is crazy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
so yeah, so I mean, and
usually with men, it's limited to their footwear, for example. And I notice with you, it's
right,
not limited to anything. It could be eyewear. It could be, whatever you're wearing as far as like a hoodie or a jacket, or, it's definitely not limited
yeah,
to. So,
yeah. I think for me, I like to say, and if you heard it here first, it'll be like I like for my clothes to be rhyming. The shit got to
okay.
rhyme when I got it on. Like it got to rhyme. Like what I'm saying. I feel like so it's not about. Oh, I'm not the guy to match the sneakers with the shirt, or as long as everything flow and it kind of has a rhythmic
Yeah.
vibe to it as far as color palette, then I kind of go with it. And as far as material, I never worked in a fashion house. I just kind of know what I like and what I think complements my frame or my body. Certain pieces it look better on other people than it will look on me,
Yeah.
and I can salute it.
Yeah.
But for me per se, even several years back before the stack pairs and a lot of that stuff I had made some of those years ago when I was wearing them on the first tour I went on with Pete, and
Yeah.
they weren't as popular as they are now, right? So certain things that you may be a little bit ahead of the trend, but when you're doing it, you're the weirdo, right? But when it becomes trendy, word, you don't. It's not like you get credit for that or one of the people who led the charge, but end of the day, you just gotta, just know what you do and do what you do. And I think clothes are an extension of our personality and how you put it together. Like I see, dude, there's a difference between I think style and fashion. Somebody who's
Yeah.
fashionable, right? Somebody who's trendy, right? People who can really put it together can go to Target and get a T-shirt, but they'll mix it with something from, let's say, Madison Ave, and it'll still just have a fly look to it. You can go in a thrift store and pull out something mixed with X, Y, and Z. I think it's just having an eye for uh, what fits and what things kind of accent you or the look you're trying to achieve. To me, I don't like I said, I'm not school trained or
I, I
or
don't think you
anything. I
have
just
to,
have
though.
a
I don't think
yeah,
you have
but
to. I would even
yeah.
go as far as to say, Amir, that if one day you ever have that opportunity to work with like a fashion house, I would definitely go for it, because I think what my point is with this is you have a knack for it. Um,
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
So
Mhm.
would you ever consider that if somebody did that? If somebody was like, hey, you know what? I really like how I'm telling you. I really think you're dope. You know, I like your fit all the time. You seem to put things together like really well and
I
it's
would.
unique. You would?
I would.
Oh man.
Absolutely. I would love to work with Pharrell over there, LV. You know what I'm saying? I know
Wow.
I would love to go over there and just even just study, just watch. You
Yeah.
know, watch
Yeah.
how the process from stage to production. Family, and we follow each other. I don't speak to him as much. I know Bank and a few guys from Virginia Beach that I know that I'm cool with.
Yeah.
Um, and family out there, like that brand. I would love to work not just under the brand because of LV, but just his eye. He's done a lot of things. He's reinvented himself several times as far
Right.
as fashion houses or being able to maneuver. Um, there's a lot of other guys, I think, even here in New York, man. I think Dapper Dan is fire. What he's done in his lifetime. There's guys from Mount Vernon that I think are absolutely dope.
Yeah.
My man Sonny, who got Fischetti, AMXXR, I ain't saying it wrong, right? Mike B, guys like stylists like that that I have personal relationships with that they
Yeah.
call me, I call them sometimes, and I thought it was just fire for stylists that were styling at that level. Sometimes just call me to ask where I got a pair of kicks from or grab them something or man, would you do this for me? And I'm like, yeah. So
Well, so you see,
yeah,
I'm
maybe
not
I
the
can.
only one
Yeah,
that noticed.
man, my man,
Wait a
even my man
minute. What?
Austin, my man Austin is always says it to me when it comes to clothes and stuff. Pete says it as well, but I just look at it like I'm just doing, you know, I feel like it's always more cost effective and it's more you fly it to me. I'm gonna spend 1,500 on these jeans. I could take that and go make some samples and make some pants and shirts
Yeah.
myself that only I got, and I could do it my way, cut my way, fall on me my way, and it's custom fit. So I feel like to me that's more of a better buy. It may take a little bit more time, and it may not have the sparkle or splash that people want. The lights camera ask, but when you put it on and you
Yeah.
dress it up right, you can you get that feeling of like you got your shield on. Yeah,
Well,
for
now
sure.
I don't feel so odd for pointing it out. I was like, is it maybe because I'm the only one that's mentioning? But now that you're disclosing that this apparently is a thing, you see, you are unique, my friend. Do you see how unique you are? So one of the other
Huh?
things, moving on to more questions, more about another one of your passions, which I feel is the fact that you're a techie or the tech world. So I know in conversations we have had in the past, I've brought it up a couple times. And I know you have your view, so I'm going to give you the opportunity to mention what your point of view is.
Mhm.
But I have mentioned to you, especially with newer music, where I have, told you, you know what, Amir, I don't feel as if certain artists that are using AI in their music. I don't agree with it. I really don't even like using AI with anything that I'm doing because I definitely want it to be genuine. And I feel like I'm cheating in a way when I'm using AI for anything that I'm doing. So I know with music, I've discussed it with you, and you don't
Mhm.
necessarily disagree with it, but I wanted you to share your perspective because since you are a techie, I know normally when I ask you tech things, your perspective is never even anything I've ever thought of. So share, please.
Well, I'll say this: like, I think that you know, I think the conversation of technology and there is a knowledge gap between what I would call a casual user,
Hmm.
somebody who uses it, you know, frequently, and what I would call deep tech, people who deal with the build out, the back end stuff, the user side of it, the user end, which is the UI, the user interface, versus like you know the builder and the customer side, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I think there's not a bias in it, but I think when somebody understands the entire ecosystem of how AI came out in I think it was 1956. Michael Chat. This dude name was John McCarthy, right? John McCarthy. AI,
1956.
it's been around. Yeah, it's been around for a long time.
Oh my
It was
God.
a group of guys that I think from Ivy League school. I forgot the name of the school, but I know John McCarthy was responsible, one of the noted people for AI, right?
Right.
Um, And it's a buzzword now because, but you know, and the reason why I may have the pivot that I have on it, because I think in 2018, I was at working at Cornell Tech at the Tata Innovation Center with AI machine learning projects. Then, like a stakeholder in some of those projects that were used
Wow.
uh, for some of the technologies that are used now um, throughout the industry, right?
Yeah.
I didn't code anything at the time. I was more on the security and compliance side of it, right?
Hmm.
So my lens on it is that it's not a new conversation to me, but it's a buzzword for a lot of people. So that, you know, AI machine learning and the variations of it, a lot of people are talking about everything from, you know, the video aspect. It's a toy. We always get caught up in the user side of it while people are making billions of dollars on the back end. So by the time it gets to the public, the technology that we actually get to use is usually 5 to 10 years behind.
Wow.
So people are talking about AI, but quantum computing is the other conversation, right? Nobody's, because we so infatuated with AI and building out commercials and making videos and things of that nature. But to your point, and looping back to the John McCarthy thing, was that so when I spoke on it, I said to someone, I said, "Yo, man, just like anything else, when the industry is booming or it becomes popular, right? Jobs are lost,
Yeah.
but a lot of jobs are created, right? Meaning that, for example, when the horse and carriage industry was booming in the U.S., right?
Hmm.
Livestock, horses, hay, things that surrounded the keep of the horse, the leather seats and the saddles, things that was big business. That was a technological advancement,
Yeah.
right? But when cars came along, it destroyed the horse and carriage industry. But
Definitely.
what absolutely jobs were lost, but thousands and tens of thousands of jobs were created. People building out stop signs, highway patrols, lights, technological advancements that happened over the years, right? Cars
Yeah.
became faster, tickets, you know, automobile insurance. Look how many people made the
A life.
ecosystem surrounding that boom and that technological advancement. So throughout humanity, anytime that there's been a technological advancement of any kind, if you think about, like, jobs are lost, but jobs are created. Either you're gonna become part of the evolution, or you can sit back and remember the days of old, right? So that's kind of my take on it. And furthermore, to I think to loop back to what you said with music and technology, I think people have this, or art has this arrogance to it that they think art is so, I'm so artsy, I'm so this, I don't need technology, but I don't use the new tech, bro. But you saying that you don't use new technology, but people who make beats or use guitars, when cavemen were beating on leather drums made out of bareback skin, whatever they were using, tying it to a piece of wood, beating it with a stick, that was technological advancement. They would look at you hitting the beat machine right now and say, I would never do that, right? But
Uh-huh.
you still made a sound from that. So there's these biases that we created based on generation, because we don't want things to change, because sometimes that part of the evolution, we get terrified to change with it. So art has always stood on the back of technology. Technology never needed art to advance.
Yeah.
Anytime art advanced in any aspect, paintbrushes, keys, beats, cars, anything, these were technological or scientific advancements that helped the spread of it. So technology don't need art. Art has always stood on the shoulders of technology.
But I think people
So
are worried that it's going to replace at one point the need for the artist.
no, I disagree, because that's having a skewed lens of it, right? Per se.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're losing the art. That means you got to find a new way to do the art. You're still doing the art the same way. You just can't. So we're not using paintbrushes now. We're using iPads. Does it
Yeah.
mean that you can't draw? You just like the
Well, like,
feel of the paint in the brush. You
I
can
guess
still do
if you're
that.
thinking of
But once
writing
you
as
paint that,
well.
now I can take a picture of it and sell the print. So it's really perspective. It's no way around it. Like,
Well, I
but for
think
people that fear
maybe
to change, yeah,
maybe you're thinking this way though because you clearly have um you have a view where you're very confident in your talent. Not that you shouldn't be, you definitely should be. Even for example with your
Mhm.
writing. And I see it differently because I think to myself, and I think this is one of the conversations we've had where I've told you, you know, I see how there's people using different things when, you know, to alter their voice, to make it stronger or to make it seem different but
Mhm.
better. And yet I've told you, but Amir, that's cheating. And you're like, but it's not.
It's not, because everybody don't know how to do it.
But it's still cheating, Amir, because they wouldn't sound like
No,
that
no, you can't.
without it
No,
being
no,
augmented.
it's art. That absolutely disagree. That is
Okay.
that is a shattered fact. It's not cheating because it's a technological advancement. I don't know how to use auto tune like little Uzi, but he's
Yeah.
nice at what he does, right? How was it cheating? He didn't hurt anybody to do it. He took the tool, he learned the tool, and he advanced with it. You're cheating right now doing an interview on this instead of flying out to do it in person, right? How was it cheating?
Well, that's different because it's not AI. AI is
No,
meant
it's no,
to
no, no,
support
no, no,
me.
no, no. You're using technology. You're using technology as a vehicle. Are you cheating during your interview?
No.
Right. So right. So you use technology so you don't have to move a certain way.
Mm. So then you're
There's a
definitely
difference.
for, you're definitely
I'm
for,
not for it. I'm just saying people have to be a little bit more agile, right? A little bit more flexible, I should say,
mm,
in their scope of how this thing works. It can be used for bad, just like it can be used for good, right?
yeah,
The good thing
yeah,
about it, you didn't have to fly from your location to New York to do the interview, but you still
yeah,
got it done because you're using a technology to get it done.
yeah. Well, that's true.
Right? So how to say to that that's still a bias, because it's still a form of cheating. A real journalist would be like, no, I want to get there and see the person and see what it's like in person, and I need to be around the energy. And you'd be like, why not get the same energy over the phone, over the screen, right? Over the computer.
That's true.
So it's subjective.
Yeah,
But if you're going to be subjective, you got to be a total subjective. Don't have a shattered fact and stand on it like it's a whole one, because then you become a part of that party that is not thinking about the total ecosystem of how technology really is used to give us, if used properly in an ethical manner, it
right.
gives us time to do other things that are more important to advance our society,
Yeah,
right? I'm
yeah.
not pro tech, but I'm just talking about simple, like the simplification of it, period. Like
Not
technology.
replacing. You're
Yeah, no, it
saying,
doesn't.
yeah,
No, it doesn't. But if I
yeah,
learn how to use this tool, and now I don't have to pay somebody $5,000 to sing the hook when I could turn that tool on. Let me see if I could get it together. Oh, I
yeah.
caught one.
Well, I I mean, if you look at it in that again, and this is why I love the conversations with you because again, you bring a whole nother perspective to things. And I do keep hearing the conversation about AI and artists, for example. But some people at times are going as far as saying, well, you'll never be able to evolve with the times if you don't start incorporating AI and different things that you do. But I
Right,
see it as if, like, I wouldn't want to, and I think this is one of the conversations we've had throughout. I guess we've known each other already for at least over a year. Throughout
right.
the times where we've had convos, I've even told you, well, I see it where I wouldn't want AI to write a song. And then that
Right.
song wins in it. And I think we discussed the Grammys or some award show where I told you I don't agree with anything that was written or used or the artist used a lot of AI to get the goal of winning the award because I don't think that's fair to artists like yourself that are really
It's
putting in the time to write
it's
the
fair.
songs, to actually perform the songs themselves. And you gave me again another perspective where at the time you were like, yeah, but I don't necessarily disagree with that.
I don't have a agree or disagree. I try to it what's for you is going to always find you, right? So I don't
Yeah.
really care if a computer the computer was still man-made. It's not, and people act like it's doing it on its own. These are programs that the more they use, the more swift and capable they become, right? So it's not a
Yeah,
situation. These are all of this is man-made stuff. It came from the mind of a human being.
I guess.
So though it may be AI, it's still a man-made tool, right? It functions on its own. It operates, whether it's cognitive. They have AI. You have a few different. I think it's several different types of AI for sure, right? So when I
Yeah,
said that I don't agree with, put it like this: the artists that you love. You said you're an R&B fan, right? You're a fan of
yeah,
Beyonce, correct?
yeah. I like Beyonce. I'm part of the Beehive.
Right. So if you're a fan of, no, no, no. I'm just saying to you, like, if these artists, the modern day artists, or even artists from the 50s and 60s, didn't have an engineer to mix the sound,
Oh, but that's
it would
not
never have
AI.
the same feeling. Those were it's still technological advance. It's still technology.
I
Artificial
think,
intelligence. Don't let the word artificial intelligence become the name for everything, an excuse for everything. It's still AI is AI, but it's still technology,
yeah, and I
right?
think
It's a
that
technological
right
advance.
there. I think I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that right there
Hmm?
is where it's at for me. That I
Yeah,
hear AI and I think artificial intelligence, and I think, man, it's going to want to replace everything, and that's what I'm not in agreement with, because I don't think
well,
a like an advance in technology, I don't think it could ever replace
it
a
doesn't
true
replace human
artist
beings.
with
It does
talent.
not. It doesn't. No, it doesn't replace talent, but
Yeah,
it does if you know how to use the tool properly, right?
it
It
can
cuts out a
enhance
lot
it.
of, yeah, right. It can enhance your sound.
Okay,
It's an enhancement if used as a tool, right? It does. You can never have the voice of, like, let's say, who has a crazy voice? Keisha Cole's voice is insane. No AI, no auto tunes whatsoever, right?
my God, yes, I love me some Keisha
Right,
Cole.
right. For instance,
Yeah,
but hypothetically, some people, even with AI or auto tune, they're not going to sound like her,
right.
right?
Yeah,
This form of soul cannot be replicated through a machine, right?
yes.
That feeling,
Say it
but
again.
but no, but the sound, excuse me, the sound can't.
Right.
The soul of it can't, but the sound of it is absolutely it can be replicated, right?
Yeah.
It may not feel the same, any of the above, but because it was done on a computer, the replication of it is possible. All I'm saying to
Okay.
you is that, look, you know, people are gonna have their worries or whatever with it until if they made $10 million off of it, they wouldn't be saying that. They're like, no, I'm all the way for it. Right. So it's an understanding and it's a money thing, in my opinion. It doesn't replace soul. It doesn't replace talent. It replaces a lot of unnecessary. A lot of people will be out of jobs, right? Because
Right.
now people
Right.
can go make beats on AI. You can do hooks. You can create whole songs by typing in a prompt,
Yeah.
right? So why am I paying you what again? And I could get somebody that sound like you on this computer, and not be you, but have the texture that you may have,
Yeah.
close, but it's not you. It doesn't replace you. It doesn't weaken you in the market. It doesn't do any of that. It's just now you got to find a new way to hustle, right? I'm not
Yeah.
saying that it's the end all be all, or oh, I'm pro tech. No, I'm just saying that in these conversations, there's absolutely pros and cons to it.
Right.
And the same way people champion certain advancements because they understand it. When people got drum machines, but they didn't play drums,
Well, like I
they
like
don't play.
filters.
Right. You like filters, but you don't. Right. But are you gonna go to Sephora every week and put on her makeup? No. So everybody, there's a dependency on technology by every human being on the face of the earth. Now, matter of fact, I digress. Most people that are plugged in to popular culture have some form of technological addiction.
Mm.
But
Mm.
because it's not labeled as an addiction, we normalize the behavior.
This is
So
true.
now there's a new feature being implemented into our behavior pool.
Yeah.
Of course, some of the people are going to scatter while the others embrace it.
Yeah.
But eventually, You've been using it and don't know it. Face recognition when you put on a filter on your face is a form of machine learning.
No,
You don't complain about
or even
right, but
now, now
right,
I'm
but
used to
when
using things on my
right,
phone where it's like with my
right,
fingerprint.
right, absolutely. So I think for me, my final answer would be like, there's a subjective portion to it. There's
Yeah,
things that I would say that are absolutely refutable and things that are non-refutable in the conversation of art and technology and where they
yeah,
stand. But one thing that is non-refutable, in my opinion, matter of fact, non-refutable, art has always advanced when technology advanced because it stood on it. It rode the coattail of a technological advancement. The art of even making a car, the boxing was now you got Porsche, the first car made versus if those people who invented the first car could see a Bentley truck, you think they would be wild and be like, yo, man, it's not what I intended it to be. Or they gonna jump in there with them leather seats and hit the button and jump on the highway like, yo, this is crazy. I'm in a
true.
spaceship. So how it starts is not always how it ends. So there's an ethical side of technology, and there's a non-ethical side where it's used for everything from scamming to fraud and etc. But there's
Yeah.
people that are going to do the right thing when nobody's watching. So you
So we
know,
hope. So we
yeah,
hope.
but that's just the law of averages in humanity.
Yeah.
The flaws that we have. So yeah, I understand.
So speaking of flaws, no, I'm just joking. So one of the things that I wanted to ask also, because again, in conversations with you, I've always noticed, especially when you're speaking on your music, and and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but one of the things that Amir and I like to do is I love it when Amir is sharing his music with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always complimented him on the fact that he's so humble, especially with the fact that he's dealing most of the time with one of the biggest producers in hip hop, a legend, which is Pete Rock.
Mm-hmm.
He most recently, had a collab. I hope I'm using the right term, where it was Pete Rock and Common, and I had mentioned to him that I noticed that he is so humble with it because I have seen other acts, other artists, where they're doing the same, but they even seem to, I don't know if it's ego that gets in the way or if it's just that they feel because they are of a younger generation that they don't necessarily need to listen so much to the legacy artist, I think is what we have called it in our conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I noticed that's not the case with you. Now, in our conversation, I even asked you, do you just normally just accept whatever like a legacy artist would tell you? And it came into a conversation that we had where I posed this question. Do you believe with legacy versus new artists, because we do see that there's a huge divide between men of color, do you believe that there is an issue with the acceptance of the legacy artists accepting whatever is to come, especially now with AI and the conversation we just had? Do
Mm-hmm.
you believe that there is a rift, that it's because they refuse to accept that things are changing, and like you're saying, things are going to be different, they're going to evolve? Do you believe that causes a clash between the legacy versus the newer artist, you being a newer artist?
No, I believe that a lot of these presets were already pre-existing before they did music. Like if you have a shattered father teaching a grandfather teaching a shattered father, and a shattered father teaching a shattered son, and a shattered son having a kid, these
Yeah,
behaviors have nothing to do with the music or the culture. These behaviors are transcendent. These just like a transcendent phenomenon of sorts, right? It's not like, oh, I got into music and I leave my behaviors behind me. Oh, technology came. I don't like younger like the YNs or this whatever you
yeah,
know label that we want to fall under. The biggest thing is this, man. Our culture is that especially, and I'm speaking for the black community. I can't speak outside of my community like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this to you that one of the biggest cancers that we've ever had, like a non-physical cancer, like I mean, just a cancer of spirit or emotional mindset, is
Mm-hmm.
divisiveness, right?
Right.
And we accept it. We've always accepted it, and we say that's just the way it is. Or if I got money, you never did nothing for me. All of these loaded terms that we've used generation to generation to cause further divide. What's the biggest thing that we feel divide us in the black community is money, money and status. If I got money, you don't got none. You broke, I got it. I can't hang around you. I don't want to talk to you. It causes, even though you may be rich in fiber and rich in quality, and you just haven't had your shot yet. But what I've learned is that the divisive tool is generational because you have the knowledge gap has been celebrated.
Yeah.
So this little gap of knowledge between, elder generation, middle generation, younger generation is something that has always caused a divide. And you have certain people, it's not always the conversation or always the situation itself, but a lot
Yeah.
of the times I see it, it's kind of like, yo, it's corny because like, you know how much wisdom is being is
Shared.
being contained,
Oh,
not being shared, being contained and not being passed on. And who benefits by us not sharing? Everybody outside of our community that owns the culture. This
which is
culture
where
been around for
gatekeeping, right?
right, been around 50 years and we don't even own 20%. Right?
Mm.
But we'll get in front of each other and we'll front like we got it. We'll act like we that guy with each other,
Mm.
right? So when elder statesmen want somebody to listen to you just because they're older than you, that's not the
Yeah.
way you get their respect. Elder statesmen
Fact.
want you to listen to them just because they have a title, but they never respected anything below the title. That's not how you get respect. Younger kids want somebody to respect them just because they're younger and quicker
Yeah.
or maybe stronger or know what's up now. That's not how you get respect. So it's not that, to me, that it's a problem. The lines of communication have been, I think, manufactured for us not to communicate because there's a group of people outside of our community that stand to always make a huge profit and benefit from that divisive culture and nature. And
Mm.
until we, as a whole, kind of come to terms, a few of us, and it's not all of us, but and then it's also being promoted as such. No
Yeah.
other community celebrates and is promoted to be this divided than us.
Mm.
Not show me one. No other community. Our culture is the only culture to go to other cultures to ask them for deals about our culture and permission to do our culture.
Yeah.
You'll never see men of color, black men, at a label that is non-black telling non-black acts how to run themselves in their entire community. It's never gonna happen,
Mm.
right? A lot of
Yeah.
people are cowards. It's not that it's young versus old. It's coward culture versus courage culture.
Mm.
And that doesn't have an age limit on it. I know some 15-year-old men and I know some 55-year-old boys.
That's
And
true.
that's just what it is. It's based on experience and how you choose to approach life. So
Yeah.
to me, I don't really, I don't get engaged in, the ageism thing because I know it's corny, and I know that the ploy of it is to continue,
Yeah.
the way we divide and simple thing, divide and conquer. But we go for the banana in the tailpipe, which is a bag of money every time, and we'll continue to perpetuate it, right? If somebody's younger than you, salute them. If somebody older than you get into it, salute them. But just salute them because they're getting to it and not causing any damage to the people they're around. But it seems like that is the heart. To me, the problem is we have a huge problem saluting each other
Yeah.
because we feel like it takes something away from. It takes away from me if I tell you that you're nice. It doesn't.
Yeah.
So the problems surrounding it have nothing to do with it. Just generation, older, young. These are teachings that have been passed down.
Yeah.
Right? I said, oh, and he took crazy man. Listen to that. He ain't got no money. Look at his life.
I
If
think,
there is no right, if there's no examples of in your
Ramir,
life,
don't you think that sometimes though, because that's definitely where the gatekeeping comes in, and it comes in all aspects. I know in corporate it happens. I know it happens in sports. So it's not limited to the entertainment industry, but I do
It's
see,
everywhere.
I
Everywhere.
do, and I
Yeah.
do see, for example, certain gatekeepers who have reached a master class in whatever their profession is or
Illusion.
whatever.
It's
And
illusion. It's illusion, Betty.
but it's
It's an
usually
illusion.
something where they're so, I have found myself in conversations with people, older men, where they're expressing how they don't agree with the way, I call them young bucks, so I call you a young buck. Where they don't agree with the way you might be doing something, but then what they do is, instead of helping or trying to understand or trying to mesh everything together where it becomes where they unite and then they produce something different, both of them together, it becomes where I notice that instead of helping, what they want to do is they want to enforce their opinion on the younger person, and then I find that they don't even want to help them out. I feel like they're trying to hold them back, which is where the gatekeeping comes in. And I have found
No, no,
myself telling,
no. You no disrespect.
go
You
ahead,
said the same thing twice, and
go
that's
ahead.
not true. You can't be a gatekeeper to lands you don't own. What gate are you keeping? They don't even own hip hop. They don't own the team. It's
Oh,
an illusion. How you what are you gatekeeping? What's your property?
but
This is
they
not even a
feel like they
tangible
own hip
thing.
hop. They feel like
No,
they
they
own
don't
hip
own
hop.
any. No, but let me cook it up. What I'm telling you, you can't be a gatekeeper to something that's not a physical address.
Mm,
What you keeping and where your gate at? If I believe you got a key for me to succeed, that is my own personal prison. I imprison myself because I believe the key to me, right? Not
yeah.
faith and the unseen. The key to my success rests in your hands and what you do and don't do for me. That is the biggest prison with a
Mm,
lot of artists and athletes. So and so didn't do this for me, so I didn't advance. No, you didn't advance because you didn't scrape the ground with your knuckles and get your feet dirty, bro. That's why you didn't get it.
I love
You
that.
weren't willing to sacrifice and take the necessary and do the grunt work whether people are watching or not.
I agree
Noah
with
built the
that.
ark. When Noah built the
When
ark, they laughed at him. According to the story, right? He laughed at him. Right?
that's
All
true.
right, he's crazy. Yo, the flood coming. The flood
That old
coming. Yo,
man's
wow.
crazy.
Right. He wasn't keeping no gate. He got his own boat. That's the problem. The problem is not is these terms, the words we use, this wizardry, a
Mm,
wordplay that we all subscribe to because we'll do a little bit of the knowledge, but we ain't reading the other chapters in the book. And I think that is dangerous. That's
mm.
what's dangerous, not just in this, but in any conversation. There is no gate to keep. There is no elder statesman to tell a youngest person what to do or not. You live by example. If I don't see I can tell by your decisions in your life, right? It's your place in life is a reflection of your decisions and your choices.
Well, I think it's that people eventually feel that they're, because they might be, for example, have reached a master level, they now feel entitled
To
to
what?
to be the person that is what's running whatever that thing
They
might be.
can't. No, that's enough. I keep telling you, that's Wizard of Oz shit to me. That's illusion.
Wizard of Oz.
Like who 50 years and we don't own 10%. Ain't no
Mm,
gates to keep. We the bozos.
mm. So,
What are we really talking about? Nobody own nothing. But they'll pull up in a car in a chain and make you believe that they the man down on Wall Street, right? But they could be sweeping floors down there. But we just know they work on that block.
yeah. But
It
I
don't mean
think
nothing. All of this
I
is
think
smoke and mirrors.
what I mean, well, I think that's more. It's probably more smoke and mirrors, because I think it's that perception that they're thinking, like you're saying, we don't own this, but they're thinking, whatever it is that I've achieved, I'm making sure that I eat first, and then if I want to share with someone else that I think might not necessarily be intimidating to me, where I know that they're not going to get ahead, but I'm just going to give them a little bit of a taste, because I don't want to gatekeep or smoke and mirrors like you're saying, even though it's not something that might be um entirely theirs. When I refer to gatekeeping, I mean that when you could, for example, like what Pete did, where if I understood or I heard well, I believe I heard you mention that he reached out to you and he told you that he liked your vibe and and that's how you all started working together. Not a lot of people are out here doing that. Not a lot of
Right,
producers
right. The thing
are.
about it is this:
Yeah, school me.
when someone reaches out to you to work with them and they
Of that
share their time,
caliber, at that of that caliber.
right?
Let's also say
No,
that
no,
part.
just in general. I'm not going to use classism or elitism in this. Just a genuine human being. I know
Yeah,
y'all know Pete Rock. I know Peter Phillips. Those are two different entities, right? Two
right,
different modalities.
right,
Him as a man and as a friend. You know, whether I agree with him all the time, we disagree, but we're still men that are able to have the conversation.
right.
There's no I'm this person, you're this, just listen to me. It's none of that. Like
Yeah,
it's like, bro, I agree or disagree with you. I love you, I don't. Like it's that. It's no I there has to be a line of respect there in order for you to even do any business,
definitely.
right? Not just an admiration for your talent.
Yeah,
My bro is too bro. He's picky, right? So he's not just
yeah.
gonna jump out. There's thousands of artists that could have signed a True Soul, right?
You picky too,
Regardless of
though.
that, I mean, yeah, but at the end of the day, no, but the end of the day, it comes down to this: like his rationale and reason for that, you
Yeah,
know, is one of his own,
right.
right? I mean, to be forever thankful and grateful, right?
Yeah,
To know the value in it, but also to take the value yourself and work with it.
yeah,
It's not somebody's job when they sign you to do the work for you or just put you on. They put you on by putting the light on you. You have to then get busy and get it out the mud because they're still working too. So
yeah,
it's not a kumbaya, hold my hand, walk me to the wizard. No, it's
yeah,
bro. People know you get busy. Figure this out too. We'll
yeah,
figure this part out together. Some of the stuff you got to figure out on your own. And it's not. That's just the nature of the business of music. People have this, somebody signs you, they give you a keys to the Bentley. You got a new apartment. You laid up. You chilling. You flying around. No, it doesn't work like that. That is the
yeah.
illusion. I know artists right now that don't even make $50,000 a year. But you
Wow.
look at them on the internet, they pop. And I mean, I know dudes with regular jobs that work at Con Edison. I
Mm,
know engineers that make over $150,000 a year, make more than most rappers.
that's crazy. Yeah.
Everybody ain't getting money, and that's the problem. But we'll fake it, try to make it look. If I look like I'm getting money, they'll believe me enough to give me some money.
That's wild,
That's
but
crazy,
it is very accurate.
right? Very
But I
right.
have
So to me, I've seen it. Yeah,
no, and I have
I've seen it.
personally.
That's all I can say. I've seen it.
I have had the conversation with producers that I know and artists where they have asked, um, why do you feel, and I think even once JD on his live posed this question, like why do artists feel like, um, the reasoning of why they don't feel like they're going viral, or their music is that good that it's streaming well or it's selling well. And at the end of the day, when I've asked people and I ask them, oh well, why don't you go for this particular opportunity, like all the things I see you do, and this is something I definitely recognize about you, is that your hustle is insane. You're always doing something. As I'm mentioning, you're so multifaceted that it could be fashion, it could be, the tech world, it could be your music, whatever it is you're doing, you're hustling to do it. And I know that I've mentioned to people, well, the answer is very simple, is that there's a lot of lazy artists out there where they don't,
Right,
they have somebody reach out to them of a certain caliber in the industry, and they feel, oh, I got it made. That's it. I got it made. I can now sit
right.
back and
Hmm.
relax have, the
Mm-hmm.
producer and, the head of the company or whatever the case might be. I'm going to have him do all the work, and all I'm going to have to do is lay down, like a couple bars. And at the end of the day, I'm going to ka-ching, wait for the money to roll in. And they're not
Right.
expecting to really do the work.
Right. But once again, True Soul as a label, Pete Rock is a bro,
Mm,
a mentor. Like, we've learned from each other, right?
yeah.
But in my situation, I think each deal is unique and has its features to it, right? It's
Hmm.
pros and cons. Um, but even outside of the music, our families knew each other.
Okay.
It's a lot deeper than music. It's a lot deeper than music. It's just not he randomly signed me. People, that's not what happened. It wasn't. P had known me for some time, right? Um, over 10 years, 12 years,
Wow.
probably. It wasn't just, oh, I seen this guy, he nice on the internet rapping, and let me just sign him. No, he watched me work. He watched, he listened. He would check in from time to time,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Yeah.
but he still was busy doing what he had to do, right? So
Right.
when he did reach out, of course, you'd be foolish not to take it if you're just in the crib working. It's an opportunity that made sense. So we work, we cook, and we keep it pushing.
But I think
Um,
the reason why it worked out, though, Amir, to interject real quick, is because you hustle the way that you do. Because another artist, even with what you're saying, another artist who isn't doing all that, he might just be like, you know what? Nah, you don't really want this that bad because, like you're saying, he's busy doing a whole bunch of shit. So it's not something where he wants to take on the full workload when you're the actual
wow.
artist trying to get your content out there.
No, he
Um,
shouldn't. It's
yeah,
not. That's not the business model. That's not the business model in 2025, 2024, 2026, 2027, 2020, and so forth. It's not. Why? Because there's so much technology and tools you can use to advance yourself.
yeah,
It cut costs in promotion. It cut costs in how whether you buying ads, you paying for your reels to be promoted. It's simple things, but it's not as simple as it looks. There's a strategy to it as well, right?
yeah,
Doing the interviews, the small ones, the big ones, saying the right things, being in the right places, having the right record, having the right relationships. These things are not curated just because you sign somebody. Everything that they have doesn't become yours,
yeah,
right? Everything that they have or have accomplished does not become yours. That's their thing. That's what they created before they attach you to their legacy. You have to then try to build out your legacy based on them giving you cracking the door or allowing you to share their platform, share the stages with them. If somebody, the biggest compliment to me is when an artist shares the stage with you, right?
yeah, yeah.
Because they're sharing their stage with you to allow you to be seen and be heard. And that's a priceless thing. You can't put a price tag on that. So
I I agree
yeah,
with that.
yeah,
Because
that's important.
when
Yeah.
people, including yourself, but when people share their platform with me, or they'll actually want to even give me 30 minutes of their time to have a conversation, and since what I'm really into is the podcasting and the conversations and lives, even when they give me that minimal access, whether it be 10 minutes, 30 minutes, I definitely do appreciate it, and it's something where I don't take it for granted. And I know that
Right.
it's like you're saying, it's them giving you the grace and the courtesy to allow you for at least that minimal amount of time, or in your case, an extended amount of time, where they're sharing that platform. I think it opens up a lot of avenues for people. And I
Right.
think it's
It
super
does. It
important,
does. It
especially the
absolutely
collab.
does.
Yeah.
It
So
absolutely does. That's a tremendous compliment. Any artist, no matter if they sold one record or sold 10 million, if somebody's taking the time out of something that they do with their art to share that with you, everything is not always beneficial, but
yeah,
sometimes you just plant seeds. The exchange is not always the look. People will sell their soul for the look, not
yeah.
understanding this look may have collateral damage down the line, right?
Oh God, yes.
Right. So, but I mean, through certain relationships. I was able to build relationships or build a tie with other people. Shout out to the Bro Slum Village. I just came off the road with them too, right?
Yes. So
The
tell us
tour
a
with
little bit
Common P.
about the tour, because that's something else that
Um,
we had discussed.
well, I think both tours, like and that's like a big blessing. Within the last 12 months, I've done two tours. I did the tour at the auditorium with Common and Pete. Big
Woo!
blessing. Learned a lot. I learned a lot acoustically. So I think on that too, I kind of had to realize what my sound was punching at, right? Like it wasn't the performative side; it was the sound, the bounce in the room, and realize where your beats are landing and how to kind
Right.
of manage and work the energy in the room. And being a
Right.
guy out there with no single and no album out at the time, right? And you
Yeah.
having to open open the stage and warm up that crowd for two icons. It's kind of like,
That's insane.
for Common and Pete, they were both saying, you did a great job, and it wasn't a fake because I know they would just like they'll tell you did great. They'll tell you when you f up too, right?
Which is
So
important. Just as important
yeah,
as when it is
yeah,
so
absolutely.
important.
Pete, they will definitely tell you. Pete will lean over, and be like, "Yo, man, that record right there, you did it too long. Like he'll do that to you." Comment
But I mean,
one time
that's
I
what
did
you
Brooklyn.
need, right? That's what you
Yeah,
need as
yeah,
an artist.
of course. I'm not complaining. Nah, and even in Brooklyn when I did the first show with him, Common leaned over and said,
Yeah.
you know what your job is, right?
Yeah.
I'm depending on you. You don't. He did one of those to me. I said, I got it, man. He said, all right now, all right, he did all right now, and when
So
yeah,
I had one more question, but before we leave, I want to make the time to make sure that you share with everyone what you have coming up. If
right,
you have more tours coming up,
right.
I know I had the pleasure of listening to.
Don't
Um,
do it. Don't tell the people until you listen to the exclusives. Play non-fest.
so I had the pleasure of listening to the new music that you will be having come out in June or July. I can't remember.
Right. That's one project. The project I did with Arsonist, and I can't. We're not forgetting that. Like I have a project with my bro, man.
Okay.
Yo, joint crazy. It's called No Soul Left Behind.
Yes.
This joint, and like, and and in this interview, people forget. I have to do this because this is important. The bro Ars, man, we know me for a very long time, right? It's kind of like when you see it for like the clips work with Pharrell, kind of a vibe. I don't have to. He just y'all know each other as friends, like. Um, so when you get in the lab, it's just jokes, and then the music, and then it turned into something. So I think
Right.
the album we did is called No Soul Left Behind. I played some of that. I played, verse and the hook off a lot of the records for you.
You did.
That one is slated. Yes, yeah, we doing it. That will be this summer.
So
I
I
don't
want
have
to
the
share
date,
with
but we definitely
I want to share with everyone that I was extremely impressed with everything I heard. Um, I
Oh
can't
yeah,
stop
I played you
asking.
the Dope Boy Soul album. I played you the album, a part of the album, some of the records off the album with Pete.
Yes.
Dope Boy Soul.
So wait,
Absolutely. I played you that.
the song "Why Lie." That's one of the ones that stood
That's
out.
on another that's on a project that I'm mixing now. Dope Boy Soul and No Soul Left Behind are mixed and
Okay.
mastered, right?
All right.
The third project that I'm cooking, um, or mixing now is called Dear Grandma. They think I'm playing down here. And so the Why Lie record is on there that you're talking about. Um, yeah. So
So what
yeah,
stood
I'm
out to me,
just keeping it.
what stood out to me in that
Mhm.
song, let me tell you, is the fact that, and I even wrote it down. So hold on. Um, I know it wasn't, to me, it wasn't the usual types of lyrics or content that I usually hear you have in a song. And it's what stood out to
Mhm.
me is that you did mention relationships between men and women in the song. And one of the things that you
Right.
brought in the song was something that's actually out right now where everybody seems to be talking about it. And when I heard the song, we even had a conversation where in the song you mentioned the things that are going on now with certain it couples that are in the industry, like Cardi B and Offset. And then I brought up
Right.
to you, oh, well, then there's another couple who most recently, which I'm not going to put out their names, but most recently was on IG and putting all their business online. And that's actually something we
Remy
discussed.
and Pap. Everybody, you ain't I said the names. Remy and Pap did it. We know who did it.
Okay,
Why you being
Remy.
persistent on talk about it? You can't be in media and be scared to say what it's already public information.
Well, it really wasn't
Right.
about the who. It was that I mentioned to you that I'm so private. I hear those things, and I see those things, and I think those are both couples that, to me at least, everybody was rooting for. And you see the things that happen, and I know in that particular song, the things that you're saying, you're pretty much voicing your opinion on the topic. And just to hear you speak on it, to me, that's what stood out, because you're normally the type of guy that you're speaking out more on I, different topics. It's rare when I hear you talk about relationships.
Right.
So,
But know what?
and to see that you had that point of view, to me, it kind of it intrigued me more to want to hear more about the music, because I am a woman and I'm into relationships, and
Right.
I know that I watched them when they were up so high, and then to see everything crumble, I know that it left me kind of feeling like, man, that's so disappointing, because it was something where I wanted them to succeed so bad. Um,
Right. And well, I don't know what the question is here, but I'm gonna interject. I think I know what you're asking me. If it is my thoughts on it, I'm not really qualified to say what happened
yeah,
off screen with any of these couples, right?
right,
But
right.
what I am qualified to talk about is like my own experience and the human experience in
Mm-hmm.
relationships and certain behavior patterns that we see that are
Yeah,
not just isolated, that are just not isolated to celebrity, right? We people
right.
treat celebrities like they're not human, like they don't. I can curse, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could.
Like they don't eat shit or piss. Like we
Right,
treat them like as if like people don't want to see Beyonce. They can never picture Beyonce doing something human because we've been conditioned
yeah,
to treat her other than. But she's
yeah,
still, when it's all said and done, she got to lay in the casket. She's gonna decompose like the rest of us, right?
yeah,
The human experience that she has, the things that we all go through. I think what most of these couples, most couples go through is when I wrote the record, it wasn't about their relationship. It was just about like transparency and
right,
not transparency. Before you can be transparent with your partner, you got to be transparent with yourself, right? There's things that we have you been your true, authentic self, flaws and all with somebody, right? So
right,
when you start changing and people say, "Oh, you changed," it's not that you changed. That was always who you were. They just didn't know it because you didn't show it to them, right? And
right.
then it causes a divide once again. So I think for most relationships that are on a celebrity stage, when they don't go right, the same things that you elevated, people can't wait to tear it down. And because it's a public spectacle when it happens, everybody chimes in, right? And has an opinion
Yeah,
on what's happening in someone else's house. When if they look at their own partner's phone or whatever, they probably tore up. They shit tore up on another level. So
right.
I think the news is not the news. What I learned in school was one thing I thought was crazy. My professor this years ago, he said the news is not where the noise is at. The news is where the silence is at. That's where the story
Mhm.
is at. The story is not where the noise is at. The
Yeah,
story is really where it's quiet. And if you really want the truth is not where the hoopla is at. The
yeah,
cause and effect. What's more important? The cause and effect. The cause or the effect. And it depends on who answers and how they answer. You can kind of see where their head is at, right? Because the cause is past tense. The effects are happening right now. So you have to, remediate the issue. Then
yeah,
you go back and kind of say what caused it. But sometimes we always worry about what happened, what happened, what something could be on fire The average, what happened? Doesn't matter what happened. Put the fire out,
Yeah.
right? But our basic human function in most cases is we asking the cause why the effect is burning everything down.
Yeah.
So can you blame the sheep if they've been conditioned to ask about the fire instead of put the fire out? No, right? So in relationships, especially like I said, on a public through the public lens, man, you gotta be careful. You gotta be private. The power is in privacy. The power is not in, oh, I got this bad chick or my girl is, whatever. And sometimes you can hide it, right? But there's still a part of it that you have to keep private between you and that person, because
Yeah.
that's where true intimacy may lie at. The intimacy is not always in you, showboating each other because your girl got a body or your guy got money or he got stat, he played for this team or he has this much bread. It's public information that they are of a certain class or tax bracket. So we think
Yeah.
it adds value to us because we associated with it. But it really says a lot about your own person and how much you value yourself if you are codependent on someone else's value to validate you in
Def-
any capacity.
and
So
in a way,
so I think that
the reason why I wanted you to speak on this, it's because I want people to see that there's also this side of you. And my point with bringing that up was that I don't know why I was surprised when I heard you touch on that in the lyrics. Because, I mean, you live in New York. It's something where I'm sure you know people, if not know them directly, where you're going to be hearing things. And I know how private I am. And I know when we discussed it, I was just like, I'm just so private. I couldn't even imagine all that happening. And then to hear you speak on it in a song, and I know normally the Amir I know is normally very tough and super
no,
respectful,
no, no.
super respectful. The Amir I know, super respectful. You're tough. It is something where you're highly intelligent. I would think the few times I have seen you be very um vulnerable with showing your feelings, I would encourage you to do that more. I know that there's songs and lyrics that I've heard you write where I would love to see more the vulnerable Amir, where you're sharing your thoughts on relationships, like in this particular song. I
Well,
think it's only gonna help you grow your brand and reach out to different types of a consumer as far as your music. And that's really why I asked, because I know you're like, I'm not really sure where you're going with this, but it's because I want people to see and hear what your perspective is on that. Because I want them to see that you do have a vulnerable side, and you have a funny side, you have a super kind side. You really do care about people and things that are going on in society and in life and with the culture and definitely with what's going on between relationships that are not doing so well, like theirs. um so much so that you felt the need to even if it was just a verse, to drop something in your song in regards to that. um that's
well,
really
it's
why.
too. It's a song. The song is like I have a lot of those records. My friends kind of like when I do
Why
record
haven't I
relationship
heard them?
records because that's another. That's come on, man. Come on, man. I'm not. Nah.
That's another
I
side
keep
of
them for
you.
project.
That's another
Nah, it's
side
not.
of you we
I
need
know.
to
It's
hear.
no. It's not. No. It's not about it. It's not about it being a side to anyone. It's just a simple. You know. I don't just call people and play records like not like that. If I happen to come across,
Well,
because I don't need the validation.
one of
Yeah,
the
I
things
don't
that
search for the
I
validation.
one of the things that I mentioned to you was that I love when we do, I call it like a listening party. So
Mm.
one of the things that I mentioned to you is as we're doing that, I'm always telling you, Amir, this should be a thing. There should be people, because I enjoy it so much. I mean, maybe I wouldn't enjoy it if you were whack and your lyrics weren't dope or
Mhm.
whatever, but because since you are phenomenal, for me, I'm always like this should be a thing. There should be
Right, but
artists
if you
that
did
go,
that, but if you did that, you take away people should pop out the shows.
yeah.
What is listening to a record over the internet? That's nothing. You can do that on YouTube, right? There's nothing personal about that. It's not a feeling.
But when you're listening to it with the artist and
You
they're telling
know,
you how they felt when they
yeah, you can
did
do
it.
that on the internet, but it's still not intimate. It's
Yeah,
not as powerful. You can do that at a live show, a live listening session, right?
yeah,
People pop out. That's a lot more personable. You can people do, but I've done live stream listening parties where you do that and you kind of like you play with it like that. But in the same essence, it doesn't. It's not going to yield some results that's going to be life changing. In most
yeah.
cases, people listen. Oh, it's on to the next because there's too many stimulants on the internet. They
Oh,
listen to you. Next thing you know, it's Chris Brown or it's Drake. It could be me. It could be Kendrick. Anything that is considered to be more visible and more accessible.
let me just say this
So
one
you
time,
gotta kind of
sweet
know your
breezy,
place.
baby. Wait, because you say
Yeah,
Chris
you
Brown.
just gotta know your place in the market. Yeah, you just got. I think you just gotta know your place in the market, and
Yeah,
then you take it from there. But to me, it's not always the smartest thing to just. I mean, I don't. If I call and share records with someone,
I think
if
I
I'm on
just
the phone,
lucky. I
especially
just lucky.
and I did that. When I shared the records with you, it's because we was doing the interview, and I wanted you asked what was I
Yeah,
working on,
yeah,
and I said, "Yo, this is what I've been doing." So that's why I played the records. Like this is so you get a better feel for what has been
yeah.
happening because a lot of these albums that I have stashed, which won't be in the stash, shortly. Um, it's a
Well, I wanted to mention that because I know I truly enjoyed it. And I figured, man, this should be like a thing because I enjoy it so much that I would actually, if for example, somebody is having a listening party at, one of the places I frequent here is like Dante's. If they're having a listening party there, I would definitely want to go. And it's definitely something that I would even pay entry to go to. But I am the type of consumer where I enjoy things like that. I enjoy being interactive with the
right,
art. So,
right.
so since I'm gonna wrap up the live, because
Mhm.
we could talk for hours. People don't understand that we could literally be on here like 4 hours talking and we never run out of anything to talk about. But I want people to let people know where they can find your music, your platforms that you are on, and if you have anything coming up soon where they could see you live.
Right. Absolutely. I think I got called yesterday. I think it's a show on August 12th. I gotta confirm. 9th or the 12th or something like that.
Nothing in Miami.
Nah. I don't
See,
have anything booked out there, but I do. I said we got the Dope Boy Soul album with P Rock. It's slate is loaded, locked and loaded. We're making a few, few, and we've been saying that for a couple years now, right? Right.
yeah,
So it's time to get this rocking. Iron out the wrinkles for the samples,
right.
and I have the No Soul Left Behind project. That's within the next here shortly. I have a date. Fire with my bro, Arsonist from the Heatmakers, or is the Heatmakers himself. We locked in, and we did some joints. Visuals gonna be crazy for it. We having fun. We have fun, still having fun with it, and it's a solid joint.
Yeah,
And another project that I have loaded and mixing now. It's called Dead Grandma. These think I'm playing down here. So that one is definitely um, is being curated now, and definitely a bunch of Lucy's as far as like singles. Like I should be dropping, here shortly for the summer. Just and having fun. I have the records, so that's not really the issue. People can always lock in with me at 20. Well, on what is it X now? They took my blue check on Twitter side, and it's 25th Hour Man on Twitter. Number
yeah.
25THHOU. I mean, yeah. AMXXR on IG and every other
Platform.
TikTok and etc. Yeah, other platforms at AMXXR.
So it's the same
Peace,
handle
beloved.
on every platform, right?
Yeah, besides X.
We're
And
not promoting X. We're
so
not promoting X.
yeah, so and that's it. That's I don't even. I mean, I don't even.
And then the music they
Yeah,
could expect it
I'm
with
here
the next
TV.
in the next few
Right.
months.
No, within the next month and a half, within the next six
Okay,
6 weeks, within the next 6 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks, that project will be no soul left behind to be live for sure.
that's what up.
It's done. It's done. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about what me and Austin has cooked up.
I'm
Definitely a
excited for
fire
you.
project. We definitely got the vibe on there between me and him. It's a different vibe. It's just one of those things. You know what I'm saying? Just like each producer that I have been blessed and fortunate to work with, it's a different texture with each person. So none of the records really collide or have a similarity to them.
Yeah,
Which I love that. I love that part about working with different people, especially iconic producers like that reach out and I'm fortunate enough to cook up records with them. I have a bunch of stuff, man. A bunch of producers I've been rocking with, man. Shout out to my man Soul Messiah. Shout out to Bink. Beat Billionaire sent me a pack.
thanks.
My man Neff Beats sent me some joints. Uh, my man Trey, damn, my man Tone Beats got crazy on the project. Definitely got crazy. Uh, G Weeks for sure, man. I can't forget my bro G Weeks, who definitely, jump on a lot of. That's my guy, man. G Weeks got busy. Just the people I've been working with closely, man. Of course, Pete. We know that I got the projects with Pete. Slum Village too, man. They gave me a fly verse. I don't know if it's gonna be on this project, and I'm supposed to be on their album too.
Yeah.
So shout out to T3 and RJ, especially for taking me on the road with them and allowing me to do the Canada and the West Coast with them.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fire. Learned a
Yeah.
lot. Learned a lot from those guys, man. Very cool. The Detroit, man. Always got. So Chicago, Detroit guys that have embraced me outside of the New York guys, man. Big love.
I
Uh,
mean, everything I heard, I know was none of it sounded the same.
yeah, yeah. Which
I
is
know that it was a lot of content, but you could tell that it is different producers that you're
right,
working with,
right.
and all of it, I can say, was definitely
Yeah,
something that I would
right,
want to listen
right,
to again and
right,
again.
right.
Um,
My man O'Shea too. He did a lot of R&B records too, man. He's fire. O'Shea got busy. He got joint. I got joints. Yo, 88 Keys. It's just been a lot of producers, man, that have
yeah,
Buck Wild. I suppose I got to get with him. He reached out too. So it's been a lot of people, man, that really have sincerely just reached out to work, and I find that to be. Hope I ain't forgetting nobody so they get pissed off at me, but yeah, yeah. But it's just a lot of fire producers, man, that have
you could
Chad.
always come back. You could
Listen,
always come
Chad,
back.
Chad, Chad threw me a joint. If he coming up here,
Oh,
Chad
Fat
threw me. I
Elliot,
got.
two T's.
Yeah, he threw me a joint. He threw me a joint, and which was love.
The
Um,
homie.
yeah, so it's been like I said, it's been so many um, so many producers that you know you
I
just
think
get.
part of the reason why people want to definitely collab with you too, though, Amir, is because of the type of person you are and the energy you have, and everything is just so positive. That and you're talented. That it's a no brainer that somebody would want to send you a beat or want to collab with you. So I wish you nothing but the best in all your future ventures and everything
Thank
that's
you.
coming up.
But
I am a huge fan. Anytime you want me to listen to anything, I am here. I'm always supporting everything that you're doing, but because I pretty much, like I was saying in the beginning of the episode, in the middle of this episode, I think you're a phenomenal creative. I
mhm.
think it's all the different things that you have your hands in and all the different things that you take pride in doing. I think all those things are what to me make you unique. So I'm super proud of you. I
Thank you.
can't say it enough. You're also the person I go to when I need help in tech things, and at times when I just want to have a conversation because I need some good energy in my life.
Mm.
So I definitely wanted to make sure that you were one of the initial people that I was going to have on for my spotlight. I know I
Thank
have
you.
been asking you forever, I feel like, but it finally has happened. I'm going to
Yeah.
wrap this up. Again, I appreciate you so much. For
Like,
everyone that has watched this or is going to watch this, I appreciate all your support. Please also support all the guests that I'm having on in all their ventures. I definitely encourage you all to check out Amir on his platforms, except X, because I do not promote X. But I know that you will love whatever it is that either you're going to see or you're going to hear. With that, we leave you all. Have a amazing day or night, depending on the time that you are watching this. Everybody, peace. Amir, I appreciate you.
all right.
Thank you so much.
Likewise, and take care.
Thank you. You too.
All right.